Yo guys, what's up? I'm here with my big boy Bryce.
What's that?
From South Africa with Voltaic. We've got an appointment right now that we're gonna go lock down. So we're gonna go in, play it cool, go through the process. The customer's getting crushed by sun. They've been talking about it, they've been thinking about it. This is the set, so we're gonna go through and show them how it's done.
The home is perfectly built for solar. Yeah. Beautiful south-facing roof, no obstructions. You know, they're just getting beat up every day by the most abundant resource in the world. We're gonna help them turn it into money.
No obstruction, just a few objections, and we're gonna overcome them, and we're just gonna get them set up. I mean, it's unfortunate that they have to continue to pay these high prices for the utility company, but guess what? Edison, you're about to lose this one, baby. Let's go. Notice I've been hitting the squat machine, so clearly that's just a combination of hard work and genetics. So.
Every day in the gym, 6 a.m., 6 days a week.
Yep, I'm actually there 8 days of the week.
Nice.
Because Saturdays count as 2 days. Ooh, I'll steal your electricity bill. Not steal your customer, Edison.
So never leave a voicemail on the first try. You want to call anywhere from 4 to 5 times, then I leave a message.
Yes.
And then I text 4 to 5 times because they set the appointment and must have just forgotten about it.
Yes. FaceTime audio 14 times in a row helps. That's my buddy Dario.
Hello, this is Celia. Can you have each my room?
Celia's sending us a voicemail.
Edison got away with this one, but not for long. I'm just going to sit here on this driveway till they get home. Joke's on them. Oh, wow.
On the way back. So this is what you got to do. You know, whenever you have a no-show, which happens, people forget. This appointment was set about 4 or 5 days ago. You've got to make sure that you call multiple times, because if you call just once, they're going to think you're spam. My number's from Texas. They don't know anything, you know, who I am. And then when I send my text messages, always break them up into about 4 or 5 messages. So the phone dings and dings and dings and dings. There's some urgency we have to provide, some urgency we got to carry with the homeowners. And it looks like they're on their way back. They'll be here in about 5 minutes. So stay tuned. We'll meet up. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Hey, hello.
Good, can't complain.
Okay, good.
I'm Bryce.
What's up, man? I'm Brian.
Brian, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
I was like, I only had Celia's
What's your
name.
name?
Danny, nice to meet you. And this
Danny.
is Serge.
This
Serge.
is Serge.
Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Give me 1 second. Let me get the baby up.
Yeah. Please do. Don't leave the baby in the car.
Yeah.
Hi, are you Celia?
Yeah.
Hi. So these guys are helping me with a little bit of a training video. Is it okay if they just like kind of film me while we're doing this?
Okay.
Does that bother you guys at all? So it's funny. My mom is like I mentioned, is a nurse. She is awesome at science. She loathes math. She's terrible at it. And she always said, like, so back when she's an old school nurse. She was, I got her degree in like the 70s, and she's been, you know, a nurse, and my parents are missionaries. So they're just like, she's been a nurse all over the world. So she's just seen so much. But then it's so funny, like when she came back to the States and like she was working in a lot of the more, you know, specific like hospital communities, you know, I mean, she's like, she never had to take any math. I mean, when she was younger, because they let her take double sciences and that would just cover her math. So just, you know, she just hates it. She says whenever we start talking math in the family, because the rest of us are pretty math intensive, she would always say, stop talking in tongues. So, cool. All right, so wait for, it was Brian, right?
Yeah, it's Brian.
Okay. With a Y or an I?
With an I.
Got it. So my name's Bryce, and I was like, B-R-Y? It's always a good sign. But you were the one who originally spoke to Paul, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, and you and your husband have been like looking into energy savings and solar and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
We actually got another quote from
Perfect.
another company, just so I can compare.
Yeah, well, that's great.
How long ago did you do that?
After talking to him, we were looking at
Oh, good.
different ones.
Yeah, it's hard. Some people are just so bent set against it until they realize like everyone's going to eventually get anyway. And then now it's been more of like, hey, let's see what's best and get out there. So that's awesome. You guys are proactively.
What company did you chat with?
I'm
Trying to find it.
Yeah, there's so many.
There are actually over 1,200 solar companies in Southern California and Central. So
Yeah,
there are just a million.
So many.
yeah, it's kind of hard to navigate. That's kind of why I sort of built our company the way that I did, is just because, you know, so often there's a company and they, you know, have one option or the one offering or things like that, and it really kind of pigeonholes them, but it also pigeonholes the people that work for them, you know, because there's not a lot you can offer, you know, so we try to be very diverse in our offering and make sure that we are able to offer everything and anything that can put you in a really good spot. Like that's realistically our goal. So, cool. So for the first thing that I always kind of dive into, you know, with people is really just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Did you kind of get any of that information from Paul?
No, not really.
No. How did the conversation go when you met him?
It went well.
It was just kind of quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so our company is Voltaic, and Voltaic is really an energy savings company. So we work with all of the renewable energy options that exist in California and a few other states, right? So we try and open ourselves up to be able to offer anything that can make sense for you and for your home. And, you know, honestly, like solar has gotten pretty simple, right? There's really only two ways typically people that are going solar right now, right? There's what we call solar as a service and solar as an asset, right? And I say there's two, but there really is a third option. The third option is obviously what you're doing now, which is paying Edison and kind of just continuing on that path. So, so during the appointment, really what I try and do is dive into your guys' situation a little bit, understand what you've already done, what you haven't done, a little bit about the home and about you guys, and then kind of dive into your bills and sort of see which option is going to put you in the best spot financially. And once we figure out what puts you guys in the best spot financially, then we'll see whether or not you qualify for those options, right? So, so my job is, like I said, it's pretty simple. It's just trying to help you identify that, get in the right spot, and then kind of move forward. So today, all we do is what we call the consultation, right? So the consultation is just getting your questions answered, doing a little bit of education, making sure that you, you know, have everything that you need. And then if you can qualify, okay, a couple forms and get the next process started, which is whether or not the home can qualify and moving through the design, the permitting, the installation, in order to kind of get you the actual savings that you guys are really wanting. So the first thing that I always do is go through a quick questionnaire just to make sure that I'm on the right track and that I don't waste your time. So how did you, I was gonna say, how did you hear about us? But we already know that you spoke to Paul. And honestly, how long have you guys been looking into like energy savings, solar, anything like that?
Not very long, but
Okay.
I've heard that they're giving a lot of rebates and stuff like that, or like credits.
Right, rebates, credits, incentives, stuff like that.
Kind of incentive. So
Okay. And you guys have owned the home for how long?
going on this year will be 4 or 5 years.
Okay, 4 to 5 years. So what has like up to this point, like what's kept you guys from actually pursuing solar already? Like why didn't you get it 3 years ago?
We weren't interested in it. I just can't explain.
Okay, so what changed from then till now?
Our bill.
Okay, the bill's just gone up and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, we probably should.
Yeah, and then he likes it really cold.
Okay.
So in the summertime, it's really expensive.
Yeah, there's always one person in the house, right? My wife always likes to keep it way cooler. I grew up in the Amazon rainforest, so I'm used to the heat. I grew up on the equator my whole life, but you know, the wife likes it a little bit more moderate, a little bit cooler. So, do you guys have a timeline in the home? Do you have any plans on like how long you guys might live here? Do you guys have a timeline in the home? Like any plans on like, you know, any immediate plans to move
We
or?
just talked about retiring in Texas,
Yeah.
like
Oh.
Texas.
Where at in Texas?
I'm looking at Houston.
Okay. I lived in Dallas for about 6 years. So
Yeah, we're close.
I think it's a little bit of a stretch to call the Gulf a beach.
See, that's what
Okay,
I.
I'm
said
just
to
like,
you.
It's water.
I'm just saying it is water. There is fishing.
Yeah, yeah.
My brother and his wife lived in Biloxi, Mississippi, and my family, like I said, they live in Dallas, Fort Worth area, and so not a far drive from the coast. But it's very different than, California coast, but it still has its own benefit.
Warm water.
It does.
To this cold
It does.
water.
And you can't beat the taxes. You can't beat the cost of living.
Yeah.
That's why people move to Texas.
That's what I think she's like more like
That's, I
eyes
mean,
popping out for. Is
sure, that makes sense. Are you guys both pretty local to the area? Are you born and raised out here?
I
I
was
was raised here.
Okay.
I was born in Southern California.
Okay. Yeah.
And moved back and forth from here to Arizona a couple times actually.
Okay. So you've been kind of around a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How long have you guys been married? That's actually not on my questionnaire, but I'm just curious.
4 years this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Right around when you guys got the house. So
Yeah.
that was a lot of life transition right there that time,
We
huh?
got the house before you got married.
That's wild. Well, very cool.
Yeah.
Now,
Smart choice because
Yeah.
now
I mean,
we
how?
built so much equity already.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's amazing how just like making the decision to own something instead of rent it just puts you guys in a position. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
And the first house that I got it like when the first recession, like the recession
Yeah.
at that time. And the housing market
Just
And
dropped
that
a lot.
house- yeah, I got it, super cheap, and
Okay.
now it's like so much equity.
Yeah. Now, are you guys both on title of the home? Okay. And I have your name on the utility bill, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I had when I put it in. So, are you the one who typically handles the bills?
No, he does.
No, he does. Okay. So,
busy.
you mentioned that the summer bills are high,
Yeah.
right? I noticed that like your highest usage month was pretty high. Do you remember what the bill was in July?
Almost $600.
600? Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the first time I've heard that this week.
August were the worst.
Yeah, it's been getting kind of bad. What about like a low month? Like what's a really, like you see a bill and you're like, ooh, you're really happy. What's a cheap bill?
Like 160, 170.
160, 170? Okay. And so this is a question you kind of just answered, but one of the questions I always ask is, are you guys happy with the way that you're living in your home? Like as far as, using the air as much as you want off and on, sounds like you probably are and you like to run it a little colder. Is that right?
Had to heat.
So my question is this, if electricity was free, would you use more or would you use the same amount that you guys are using now?
I would
If it
probably
was
use,
me-
I would use
if-
the same amount.
If it was
'cause I don't
me,
like
I'd
it.
probably
Right.
use more.
Okay,
But
so kind of in a little bit of balance.
I always
Well,
she's
some-
in control.
Yeah, some people like to,
She's got to bring
Or
you
like
back.
our bill. I'm like, our bill
Yeah.
needs to be considered about
And obviously
bill.
that's kind of what we're here to tackle, right, is really focusing on the bill. And I know that some people, they're not living the life that they want to in their home. Like, and if that's the case, we want to make sure that we build a solar system to accommodate that so that you guys don't have to worry about, you can both have, the things that you want.
Yeah.
Now the home was built what year?
2012, I think.
So that was when the world was supposed to end with the Mayan calendar, right?
Was it?
The Mayan
I think
calendar.
so. It was like 2012. But
Oh, there's that movie, huh?
yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be 10 years ago. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
But like the reason I asked that question is in 1978 there was a cutoff where they started requiring all homes to be built with insulation in the walls, the attic, double pane windows. It was called Title 24. So you guys are built after that, which means your home is, at the very least insulated and things like that. Do you have a pool?
No.
No. If you had to guess, what do you think is the biggest draw on your energy outside of your AC? Because we know your AC is a big part of that. Anything you guys are just like normal appliances and lights
Yeah,
and
just
stuff?
normal appliances
Okay.
and lights, yeah.
Okay.
Because
I think the AC is the big
You're not doing like a bunch of power welding in the okay. All right. So
Although I might think about it.
now you're currently employed. Are you currently employed as well?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm a manager at Walmart.
Nice. Now some of the programs that we work with are state and federally funded. So some of them are credit driven, FICO driven. How do you feel about your credit standing?
we're gonna pay cash for it, whatever we get.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that was the big thing. I'm like, I can't believe, if you get it on credit, it's like double.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if we
you
never
pay
pay cash.
cash, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think
Because he sent
it's
me
just,
the quote, credit, like if you get it financed.
yeah.
And then he also sent me the, if you pay cash. I'm like,
I'll walk you through that and kind of why that is. And the goal here is really make sure that you have all the information and whatever you guys want to do is you want to do, and that's great. Cash is great. Financing options are great. It's just a matter of trying to figure out what makes sense for the home. You guys are not on any discounts, and So some of the programs also, like I said, obviously when you're doing purchasing of solar, you're looking into like tax credits and things, and that's based on like your tax liability. So like ballpark, like what are you guys bringing in a year? Is it like over 100? I would imagine together,
Together, yeah.
combined.
Yeah, that's me alone.
Okay.
Like 130
Okay.
alone. And
Good.
plus yours.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to gauge, whether like, I want to make sure that I help you get in the right program. So, okay. So let me do this. So I'm going to pull up. So we have a picture of that bill that you sent, that Paul took. It only covers page 3. Do you happen to have a physical copy of that? Would you be able to grab the bill for me?
Oh man, I don't know where.
No? Okay. If not, I'll just use what I have, but I just kind of like to show people a few things. So California is what's called a regulated energy market. Are you familiar with that terminology at all? Okay. So some of this might be redundant. Like I said, I don't know how in depth the last meeting went, but I have things that I always feel like need to be covered. So typically, in most things, you guys just went to Costco, right? Mm-hmm. Why in the world do you guys shop at Costco?
Because we got the economy size stuff.
Right. And what happens when you buy an economy size?
That's longer.
You get discounts, right? So obviously it's nice to have, extras, but it's really the fact that when you buy in bulk, you get discounts. And that's the case with everything in the United States right now, except for energy. So Edison, by being a part of a regulated market, means that they're actually allowed to be a monopoly, and they're one of America's last monopolies. So when you actually work with Edison or are a customer from Edison, Edison penalizes you for being a good customer, okay? The way they do that is they do that through a tier system, okay? And your tier system, your little bar is actually on the next page, which is why I was gonna show you that, but I can zoom in here. So a tier system, are you familiar with what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so the tier system is pretty basic for you guys. It's basically just a bucket system for energy, and they penalize you when you get into the next tier. So your tier 1 right now is about 25 to 26 cents. So if you see here, the delivery is about 16 and the generation is about 9.5. Okay, put those together, you're at about 26 cents. Okay, your tier 2 is 23.7 plus 9.5. Okay, so you guys are at about 33 to 34 cents for that power. And you don't have tier 3 on here, but you do get into tier 3 in these months. And tier 3 right now is sitting about 45 cents. Okay, so if you are looking at like national averages, Edison's rates are extremely high, like way higher than most of the people, and that is because they are your only option for your power. Are you grabbing your bill?
No, she didn't grab her glasses.
Oh, it's all good. So once you are once you understand like kind of how you're buying your power in that tier system, they're basically saying, hey, you guys are bulk consumers. You guys are good customers. You buy a lot of our product. So we're going to make it more expensive per unit. And when they do that and you start getting into tiers 2 and 3, you also get a bunch of extra fees and charges that a lot of your neighbors maybe don't get. So it's like too bad the ones on your head aren't prescription.
No, they're not.
So I can bring this closer too, if it's a little easier.
Yeah.
So this bill was $186, okay? And if you look at it, like you said, it's basically one of your lowest bills of the year, except for like maybe October. I don't know if you guys were here the whole month, but it was just a little bit lower. And April, those are kind of your 2 low months. So when you get into these higher tier months, you're always into tier 2 at least. And you notice here you paid $15 for something called a transmission charge, okay? So a transmission charge is really generating your energy at the plant. So if your bill was $15, I probably wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't even be looking at solar if your costs were that low. But what happens is once they make your power, they have to get it to your house. And they charge you $84 for the shipping and handling just to get the power from where it's made to your home. And the reason that it's so high right now is because most of your power does come from out of state. So you guys are talking about moving to Texas. Well, a lot of your power comes from Texas, comes from Colorado, comes from Arizona, right? And when they ship it these long distances, they hike up the premiums, okay? So you have a transmission charge, distribution, and then you have a nuclear decommissioning charge. So they actually shut down a lot of the nuclear plants, meaning that we now make less power in California and we get more power now from out of state. So we're shipping those things through. Then you have a conservation incentive, which looks like it's a pretty low one this month. But basically, this is a high usage penalty. If you flip it around, it's an adjustment to incentivize you to conserve. They're literally telling you to use less power than what you're using, but they don't account for any of the needs of the home. Public purpose programs, that's for your neighbors who have discounts. So anybody that's on like a low income program, medical programs, you guys are paying for. And then you have a new system generation charge, which is about $8 for updating the infrastructure. Now, one thing you should know about Edison's infrastructure is that it's about 130 years old, almost all of it. So if you had a car that was 130 years old, how often do you think you would need to take it into the shop? All the time. And that's what's happening with Edison. They are constantly changing out poles, wires, transformers, meters, all the stuff, and they're billing us for it, okay? So the reason I go through all this, I know it can be a little bit intense, but when you actually add this up, you guys are paying about $120 in fees and penalties, and your bill was $180. So that percentage is the number one highest percentage of fees and penalties in the entire country. So Edison has the highest fees as well as the third highest rates. So the one thing you can be thankful of is you don't live a little bit further north. If you're in Fresno, you guys would be having PG&E and paying those premiums for it, okay? So when it comes to Edison, the three big problems that people have are, first of all, that you have the really high rates. Second is that you have extremely high fees. And third is that you actually have extremely high rate increases, okay? So you mentioned that that's kind of one of the main reasons you guys even started looking at solar was the rate increases. But how low were your bills when you first moved in? Do you remember?
To be honest, no.
No?
Because he lived here alone for a while.
Oh, okay. So that shifts things up a little bit too. So take a look at this. I'm gonna show you guys something. Nope, not my wife. I'm going to show you. No. I keep that with me to remind me of why I do what I do. But that's a 10-year-old picture. So there you go. So that is, so this is essentially, if you pulled directly from the Public Utility Commission, Edison's governing entity. And if you look back about 10 years, the rate for power in tier 1 was how much?
No, I can't see.
So right there, 12 cents.
Okay.
So literally 12 cents. And now, do you remember how much tier 1 was? We're up to about 26.
cents.
So we have doubled for sure, tier 1. Tier 2 went from 15 up to 33. So we've done about 120% increase. Tier 3 went from 25 up to like 43. So not quite 100% rate increase in that one, but overall, your rates are going up about 7 to 10% a year. That's kind of what we've seen over time. But last year, Edison raised your rates by 14%. And this year they're projected to do about 20. So again, I lay all this out not to make, not to burden you guys, but I need you guys to understand that the fact that the reason that people are going solar has nothing to do with how much money they save. Mm-hmm. The reason people go solar is because it transforms the wealth trajectory of their family. Because once I show you the numbers, I'm gonna, obviously your bill's gonna, if you guys are paying a cash for a program, your bill's gonna go away. So great, you're saving, a few $100s every single month. That's a big win for the family. You have your little ROI, but when you begin to look at what happens to the money over time, you guys are gonna realize that there isn't really an option to stay with Edison. You have to do something, whether it's the way you guys wanna do it or whether it's another way, it's gotta get done. And that's why I've been telling a lot of your neighbors that solar is really no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Every home in your neighborhood is gonna go solar. Period. It just depends on whether they do it now and the incentives are here, or whether they do it in a couple years when their bills are $1,000 a month and they have just no choice. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you kind of what we built based on that. Do you guys have any questions about how you build Edison? Anything you've ever really wanted to know about that? No? Okay. Cool. I probably gave you more than you even wanted to know. But
Take a lot.
yeah, it is. And on top of that, like last year, you remember like the Dixie fires and the campfire. Yeah, well, we're paying for all the lawyer fees. But the crazy thing is last year, PG&E and Edison pled guilty to 86 counts of manslaughter because of the fires. Like imagine if Kit Kat was guilty of 86 counts of murder, like we would stop buying Kit Kat, the nature of it. But when you have a monopoly, You just don't have an option. You have to buy power from them or live. So when you got your quote from your last company, how big of a system did they provide you? Do you know? Because that's always one of my big questions.
Okay, so I was trying to find it.
Okay. Ohana. Ohana means family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Hawaiian?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from the cartoon.
Yeah, right. That's Lilo and Stitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Where-
she has a shirt. Oh, how to be.
Yeah. Where's your guys' family from, like heritage-wise?
I'm Irish Hispanic. She's Hispanic.
I'm Mexican.
Mexican. All right. So a 5.6 kilowatt system, 9,237 kilowatt
Yeah,
hours.
because I asked him to keep it under 20, like 20,000.
Keep it under 20. Oh, okay.
So he just quoted me for. He gave me the whole price of what it would be for the entire, and then he gave me this one.
Okay.
That one, the cash price.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So I am a very big advocate of complete transparency, and I think it's important for you guys to understand what it means to have a smaller system, a larger system, whatever kind of system that you guys want. But realistically, you guys are, using, let's see how much power we were using this last year. Based on all the projections, you guys were using about 8,300 kilowatt hours last year. Okay. So some of that is more heavily weighted towards the, towards the summer, with your July bills being up to 900,000. You also had a gap in one of your bills because of the way that Edison's been billing people recently. But when you're looking at 8,300, okay, Edison has changed the way that they buy back power from people, right? So the smaller the system that you get, the more of your power is still subject to, to Edison, to the rate increases, to the 7 to 10% piece. And so when you undersize systems simply for a cost benefit, right, to have a cheaper system, it's not always that you really have a cheaper system, because you guys, let's say you have a system that's under 20,000, but now you also have a bill from Edison every month that ends up stacking up over the year, and then maybe sometimes even getting into tier 2 in the peak months, right? So there is an opportunity risk for having a smaller system. I typically build systems starting at 125%. So if you guys use 8,300 kilowatt hours, I would give you a system that made 10,500. And that's to accommodate, where you're at, on the, for the entire home, okay? Now, the 20,000 number, I'm assuming has something to do with what you guys have discussed, to like what you're willing to spend on solar and things like that, right? So walk me through that. What have those discussions been like behind closed doors? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish with your purchase?
Well, I'm trying to decrease our bill. I know
Okay.
that we're still going to be like at 20%, but we can always add more
Okay.
panels later on.
Okay.
This is just like for now.
So this is like a starter system for
Yeah.
you guys in your mind. Okay.
Yeah. That's my thinking.
Okay. And one of the things that you should know is that when you will add, because you're going to add at some point, right? Because even if it's 20%, that 20% of your power is going to become more than your bill was now in a little bit. So I'm going to show you guys this one thing first, right? So your bill at, and I want you guys to know, I'm perfectly comfortable with you guys doing whatever it is you want to do. I just want to make sure that you have full understanding of what that looks like and what that means, okay? So right now at 8,300 kilowatt hours, okay, you guys have a blended rate you guys have a bill that should be sitting around 207 on average for the year, okay? Obviously summer pulls a lot of that weight. The other times, is that a number that seems familiar to you guys? Okay, so this is something that I built for homeowners, and this is what I call a cost of doing nothing analysis, okay? So right now, you pay 207, and I put Edison's inflation rate at only 7%, right? We know that that's probably never gonna be only 7% again, but historically 7 to 10 is what we're seeing. So if you guys live here for 30 years, which is how long the solar is going to produce power for, okay, in about 10 years, you're looking at a $400 cost. And over time, you're looking at about a $234,000 cost for energy, right? Which is probably at least a third of what the house is worth, right? Something around there. Sorry, some spam call from Houston. You guys tell them you guys are going to move to Houston? Now they're calling me.
All right.
They're listening to us over here, guys. But regardless, you know, so if we say 20% of that, you know, is, let's just say you have, you know, $40, $50 left of your bill, okay? Then that $50 is still going to be 56 grand. You know what I mean? So the cost benefit is not always there. So the reason that a lot of people are doing ownership programs, right, which we don't make any additional money, whether you finance it or not. So that's one of the kind of the common misconceptions about the cost that comes along with financing. Has nothing to do with the companies themselves. What it really has to do with is all of the lenders. So they're lending money at the cheapest rates they ever have, and it's completely unsecured, which means there's no lien on your house, there's no second mortgage, there's none of that. So they're taking high levels of risk. So what they do is they have origination fees, which basically say, hey, we're gonna take 15, 20%, whatever it is up front as part of our costs.
There's some that say you have to, they do put liens on the houses and stuff, because we were looking at a house when we were first looking, and it said that you had to qualify for the solar first, and then if you try to sell it too,
right,
like that they get paid first.
100%. So basically there's a couple ways that you're 100% right. There are programs like that. So in the past, there was two ways to do that. One, they were people who were leasing solar. They were, like some of the leasing programs, they were putting liens on homes. But also there were some programs where they were building it into the property taxes for people who didn't have great credit. And that was automatically putting liens on homes as well. Those were called PACE programs. I'm not recommending you do either of those. All the funding we use now is unsecured. So it's not attached. It's just based on the fact that you guys have good credit and things like that. So in those, you build in the fees, right? The tax credit that you're getting from the federal government is a percentage of the cost of the program. So when you have a larger cost, you also have a larger tax credit, which offsets some of that cost. And I'm not saying that the cash is always for sure the cheapest way to go. It just ends up a lot of times giving you a smaller system than you need, simply to accommodate the fact that you guys are needing, you know, or you aren't doing it. Now, one thing that we do, and one thing that we could look at, is I have access to funding where they actually have the first year completely interest-free. So if you guys were wanting to, let's say, do a $20,000 cash, that's what you're willing to pay, there's not anything that's saying you couldn't finance the rest of it and still have a lower monthly bill that's fixed and controlled, okay? Now again, that sounds like that's something that you don't really wanna do. Okay, so you only wanna pay cash for things. Okay, totally fine. So this is the system that would be recommended for your home to produce 125%, which would be a 6.3 kilowatt system. You got the guy give you a 5.4, okay? So again, something that you can for sure do is make the system a little bit smaller or accommodate some of the cost, and I'll run you kind of through a lot of those numbers there. This is the exact same thing that you kind of already looked at. So nothing's really gonna change here outside of the fact of, you know, who you're ultimately working with, right? And so do you know who installs solar for Ohana? Did they talk to you about the installer?
No.
So the installer that we're using in this area is a company called Titanium. They've been in business for quite a while, and they are one of the, they're well known to be really, really well connected with the permitting department. So they're moving jobs through very quickly, able to get people from point A to point B, especially cash jobs. They don't need any additional approval. We just simply need to have design, and they've made a couple innovations to make that happen. But just really good customer care, customer communication, making sure that you guys kind of get what you want. Because at the end of the day, Ohana and Voltaic, like, we are, you know, companies that are not specifically installing the solar panels. So we're the ones who are making sure that you guys have the right relationship. And I have access to about 5 different installers. And if one of them starts to not do so well or whatever, we always provide additional protections for homes. That's the goal. The goal is for you guys to not have to do a lot of the shopping that you're gonna do, because we do the shopping. We've shopped with 100 different companies because everybody wants our business, and we only pick the ones that we feel like we can trust, that do really good work, because our whole company is built off of customer service and referral, right? And that's kind of my expectation for you, is that you guys are going to need to have 5-star service, or else you're not going to refer people to me, and then I lose out on plenty of other business that we could have, for you guys as well. So, so let me take a look at this here, and let's run through this. So if we were to do a system that fits kind of a little bit closer to what you were looking at before, this is a 5.53 system, so just a little bit bigger than what they had before. And that would be, that would be right at the cost you guys are looking at, right? Just under 20. That's before the tax credit. And that's what you're looking at, right? Or are you looking at after the tax credit? Are you looking at your gross cost or your net cost?
The gross would be 20.
Okay. So then your true cost on that is 26% less than that. Okay. Does that make sense? Was the tax credit explained to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And he explained to her, you get less if you finance.
For sure. It's just a percentage, which is at the end of the day the goal. So let me see what we got here. So let me show you what this is. So basically, you're looking at about 111% offset if we do it this way. So what was the percentage that he was showing?
79.
Let me see that again. Let me see what this guy did. Okay, so they just estimated your usage kind of high. It's probably because what they did is they took, if you look at the July bill, let me just see what your July bill was. So this system was producing, so really it has just, all it is a different estimation of your total usage. But if you notice this production, 9233 and 9237, they're the same. So it's a 5.6 kilowatt system. So theirs is actually a hair bigger, just because they're using 400 watt panels instead of 395s. So the same, but the systems are producing the same amount. And the only difference here, if you look at the inverter, so this is sometimes a personal preference, but if you know much about the solar industry, there are 2 big companies that do inverters, SolarEdge and Enphase. Okay, I'm not a big product person. I'm not going to come up here and say one product is always better than the other. But with Enphase, the benefit of these is that they have an inverter on each panel. So these are what are called microinverters, which means there's less chance of failure. And SolarEdge, like we've been working with SolarEdge I've been doing it for about 8 years. We've found that we've had quite a few failures with them, and people having to come out and replace, on year 2 or year 4, things like that. And Enphase just has a significantly lower failure rate. And so when doing a system, I'm going to always recommend that you do an Enphase. Also make it a little bit easier when you decide you want to go and add on. But yeah, so this is the difference, and that's probably where, this is where you have a slightly smaller system that's still producing the same amount. So let's take a look down here. All right, so he probably reviewed this part with you guys already as well, but obviously you're not paying for, it's all right, you're not paying for anything. You don't have a solar payment because you're not financing anything. And this is where we have your current bill. So they have you at 240, I put you at 207, but regardless, it's kind of right around there. And then you see your cost over time, right? So, but the thing I really want to draw your attention to is this down here, right? So you got 5176 being your tax credit. That looks about right, right?
Yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm. So it's just 26% of the cost. So the total cost.
5,976.
Okay, let me see here. Gotcha. So they actually have you at 23,000 for the cost. So was there a reason that he didn't go under?
No, but he said he would give me that for 20.
Okay. He just said that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Anyways, right here, if you see, the cost on this is 19,908. Okay, so that's your true cost of your system. You are going to get this much back, and you're going to have a net system cost of 14. So that's where you wanted to land, and then you can just kind of obviously see your cost savings over time. So, like I said, I would be, I would anticipate having a little bit of a obviously I have a bill still from Edison. You need to get that. So yeah, that is really how the program works, right? So when you're doing a cash program, it's pretty simple, right? You don't pay all this up front, right? You're not writing a $19,000 check day one. What you're doing is you're writing a deposit check, okay, which is $1,000 that they hang on to until we get to install. Once we install, then they about 75% is due.
It was that small little package. Oh, okay.
And then the remaining balance is due when we actually get the system turned on for you. So it's just kind of the way that it's set up in order to make sure that you do that.
To, install it and all that?
The actual installation will just take 1 day, and usually probably about half a day. As far as getting from point A to point B, so you look down here, you're going to see that step 1 is running the savings report, and step 2 is the approval process, which again, you don't have to do a specific approval process except for the deposit check. And then we cover through documents, get the site survey done. So the nice thing about the way that Titanium is set up is they have proprietary software that allows us to do the site survey right now. So as soon as we get you documentation completed, we okay a couple forms, then what we do is I pop outside, we take some pictures and submit it so that right then the engineers can start working on this as soon as tomorrow. And then getting ready to install. So we have seen installs in the area within 2 weeks. We've seen them move very, very quickly. That's our goal. But it really just depends on how quickly we can get the permit in the area in order to get that stuff running for you. But the install itself will take just a few hours.
And then it takes a while, right, for them to be charged and all that stuff.
For them to be charged. Oh, to get the system turned on. Yes. So.
What you told me.
Yeah, so generally it's anywhere from 45 to 60 days total to get the project up and running, which is why we're working so hard in this area right now, because you guys are gonna, summer's coming, and that's where you guys, collect a lot of your bills are in summer, and that's where you wanna have the most relief, right? So the process is very simple to get started. And like I said, you don't carry the liability of the cost until the system is actually installed. And then you don't have to complete your payment until the system is actually turned on. So that's the way that those things operate. So the nice thing about solar is it doesn't really have much maintenance that's needed. So solar doesn't have any moving parts, right? Except for the little inverters. And they recommend that you hose them off about twice a year. You don't have to get up on the roof. You don't have to wash them. You can literally just stand down here with a hose and just spray them if we don't get very much rain. If we have a pretty rainy year, you won't need anything.
What about problems with nesting birds and stuff like that?
For the what?
Nesting birds and
we
stuff
got
like that.
We got the pigeon stuff.
Yeah, but when they put the solar panels on, they're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, if you,
Nets and stuff.
there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. Yeah, so again, there's bird netting and stuff like that you can do. I mean, there's even little sound emitters that a lot of people do to get rid of birds and stuff like that too. So, oh, it didn't. They love it. They love the sound.
We tried the sounds. We tried the little laser thing. We
Yeah.
finally had a call.
Well, like I said, I mean, this system, I don't have included bird netting. That's something that we can do. There's typically an additional cost. I don't know exactly the cost on that, but I'll find that out and run that number for you real quick. But yeah, I mean, if that's an issue that you guys want to make sure is prevented, then we'll absolutely tackle that. Now, one question I do have for you is your electrical. So, do you mind if I take a look at your electrical panel? Can you guys show me that? Yeah. Will I need shoes, or am I gonna get my socks super dirty if I go that way? Okay. Oh, we'll go out front?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the question is, are you younger than the other managers?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Awesome. So you guys have, your main breaker's probably down here. So you guys have a 200 amp. Look at how dirty that is. So you guys have a 200 amp bottom fed, which is good because that means that they can put the solar breakers up here. So your guys' home was pre-set up for solar, which is great. And then obviously, if you don't know already, your solar is really looking to go on the back of the home because you guys have beautiful southern exposure. So you guys have a 200 amp panel, great space. So your home was pre-built for solar. It was set up for it originally. What were you saying? What were you saying?
Oh, I started in store planning, like building Walmarts.
No.
Okay.
stuff over in Arizona. Built 4 of them over here, and then
Nice.
comes back.
I went to college in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, which is about 30 minutes from Bentonville.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
the home of Walmart, like
That
it's like a religion out there.
Yep.
The Walmarts are massive.
Sure is.
It's insane. So yeah, I mean, one of the benefits we have in really being a pretty diverse company is the fact that our pricing is really competitive in the market. You know what I mean? You can see that like right off the bat, our cost is about $3,000 lower than the other costs you have for the exact same system size, and with what would be considered by most to be better equipment when you look at the Enphase inverters. So that's just something that we're super happy with. But besides that, it's really a matter of you guys are going to be entering into a relationship with the installer, and to me that's even more important than the specific cost. Obviously, you have a very specific cost you need and want, but that's something that can be very easily hit with the system size that you guys have, and it's just from there going into getting the process moving. We are the company that will get it up on the roof and get it installed and turned on faster than anyone. Speed isn't the only thing. Quality obviously matters more than even that, but you guys do need to get the system up and running before summer, or else you'll just have another couple $1,000s that you're wasting.
After the summer.
You guys are thinking about what?
Like after.
You guys are thinking about doing it after this. One of the things that we're really looking at here, guys, and this is not just, some sales guy sitting in your home. Have you guys been watching the news about net metering 3.0? So
About what?
net metering 3.0. So if you actually look around right now, so it's called NEM 3.0. So if you look at the Public Utility Commission, okay, so Edison is governed by the Public Utility Commission, okay? And what happened is they started, Edison and PG&E and SDG&E have changed the laws and the rules around how you buy back energy. Solar, you guys got a 1-for-1 credit for everything you produced. When 2.0 came out, they started buying it back based on what time of the day you make the power. And it started changing some of the relationship. In 3.0, they're talking about mandatory minimums. So just to have solar on your roof could cost you $50, $60 a month outside of whatever Edison's gonna charge you, literally just to have solar. That we got shot down. I went to like 2 or 3 rallies to like literally put pressure on Edison. We tried to shut this down. They've tabled it, but it's coming back and it's gonna be a little bit different. We don't know what it looks like. We don't know when it's gonna pass, And for me, it's really not a matter of can and will you guys, go solar. Of course you guys are gonna go solar, that. The question is, what are things gonna look like after summer? And the answer is that nobody knows, right? And the urgency that we provide, this is the main reason why only 1% of people in the entire state are going solar for cash. Almost nobody is doing it. Everybody is either doing solar as a service or solar as an asset, where they either take out the financing or they have it, they're paying for the power that the system generates. Cash, we understand, is important, but the truth is investing $20,000 into a cash cost for your home that will ROI in 8 to 9 years is an investment that makes sense, but you can pay off solar early as well. There is just obviously somewhat higher cost because of those fees. So I don't know, the potential risk for waiting is there, but also there are alternatives where you could still do both and still do it that way. Is there any wiggle room for you at all in being open to looking at anything besides cash, or cash is your only, you won't do solar unless it's cash? Okay, so realistically, is this something that you guys would be able to afford before summer, or it has to be till after? Okay, so as I mentioned before, you're not paying this all at once. You're not paying this all install. You pay a deposit when you get the document signed. You pay a portion of it when you get installed, and you pay the rest of it when it gets turned on. So it's kind of built to be that for you guys. I have obviously we want to earn your business. We want you guys to, we're working with a ton of people in Visalia. We've already helped about 80 something homeowners this month in Visalia alone. And last month we did even more. So we're very well connected in the community. We have obviously very competitive pricing, competitive installers. So the question is for you guys, what's your X factor and what would get you guys taking action before you guys were initially planning on doing it?
I don't know, because that's kind of, that's, yeah.
We have already planned that we've been postponing.
Right.
I'm gonna lose my money if we don't take it, because of COVID last year we didn't go,
Mhm.
and this year we have to use it or else we're gonna lose our money.
Right, for the trip, you saying you put down deposits and stuff?
It's paid for.
Yeah.
It's paid for.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lose
No, I'm not. I definitely am not telling you not to take your trip.
$6,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do we go about doing this? The only way you guys are willing to do it right now is cash, right? I don't want you guys to delay unnecessarily and potentially lose out on whatever net metering changes may happen. Obviously, you guys know my goal is to get these things done when I come into a home. That's the goal, right? Every single time is to give you guys the education and help you guys take action, because we know that's going to happen. So my question is, what could or would make you guys potentially be willing to take action?
I could say,
right now we're just
yeah.
finding. We were like looking for information.
Uh-huh.
That's what my understanding was. Like,
Sure.
this is what it is. And,
100%.
And we would get a price, and then we would, that's why I'm inquiring
Yeah.
with different people and seeing which one fits best. I'm talking about money wise.
Sure.
I always look at the finances.
Mm-hmm.
Like which one's gonna,
And I think
I
that,
work hard for my money.
Yeah.
Like, which one will give me better?
of course.
So basically,
Like a
like
better
what it's coming down to is like today was never going to be like a done deal kind
Okay.
of thing. It was just hearing you out, getting the information,
Sure.
you going over the plans and stuff with us.
And we would
So
decide which one was
yeah.
better, and
Mhm.
since the beginning, I've always said, it's gonna be around August, September when we're gonna
Sure.
do this. August,
Yeah.
September, that's like the month that we're gonna do this.
Yeah. And you guys have a plan. And like I said, I'm like, I can respect that. I can always respect having a plan. I can respect all that kind of stuff, right? So, obviously when I come into a home, I have sometimes a slightly different expectation, and not necessarily an expectation. I'm not expecting every single person to say yes, right? My goal is to get an answer, not necessarily a yes, right? Sometimes it's no, right? Sometimes that's what makes sense for people. So, the way that we typically operate when we look at, these kind of situations is, you guys are, the way that you're approaching your cost, analysis for the thing, you're going to get the exact same identical quote from every single company, because you're saying you guys want to spend 20 grand. Everyone's going to say, okay, 20 grand. And here's my thing. There is not going to be a difference company to company at this point. You know what I mean? Like what is going to be the difference maker is, like I said, the level of understanding that you may be getting a home, right? Some of the information that I'm giving you today will be valuable for you in any future, looking that you guys do. The encouragement that I have is, like I said, is surrounded around the intangibles, the things that we don't know. And like I said, you guys very well might do solar in August, September, get it turned on before the end of the year. And then hopefully, like you said, you get your tax credit still, as long as it gets installed this year. But then, whatever happens, right? And so like this quote is good for 60 days, but I always try and let people know I'm very, very busy and I don't come back. So all I do is provide people, a number. If it looks good and they want to take action on it, cool. Somebody else from our company may follow up with you in 2 to 3 months, and that's okay. But, I don't have, the time to continue to just sort of, follow that up. So I present this, and if now is not the time for you guys to be able to do that, I'll respect that. I'll walk away. But the question for me would be, is there anything that would potentially put you guys in a position? Like if I were to wave my magic wand and you guys were to say, this is exactly what I want, and I could accomplish that for you today in order to get you guys to be able to move forward, what would need to happen to make that happen? And it's very possible that I can't actually do that for you.
Yeah, we already have, like I said,
A plan.
We already have our plan.
Mm-hmm.
We already have what we decided on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we are gonna get it
Yeah,
this year, and it's just gonna be August or September.
for sure.
That's our month.
No, and again, like I said, I get that.
And they, you know, what I was told is that it takes like a month and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's fine as long as we get it this year. Then we'll still get our credit.
Mm-hmm. The 26%.
Whatever it is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we can.
Yeah.
Do the tax credit.
I guess what I'm saying is, if this wasn't 19,000, if this was 1,000, you guys would potentially be thinking something different, right?
Of course.
Of course.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, what
So
would be
you're
what would be the magic wand? That's what I'm asking. 'Cause
Yeah,
like,
but we're talking about real world situations. Right?
exactly.
We're not talking about
So obviously, I'm not going to do it for 1,000.
It's not.
You
gonna
guys aren't going to do it for 20,000.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking is really where would that be, or would it be? What would the cost need to be in order for you guys to say today is the day and we'll do it? And if that's the case, I don't know if I can meet that price for you. I just want to know what that is so that I can make sure that I've exhausted all my options, and call my business partners, see if they want to take that now, or if they want to hopefully follow up in August, September, and give you guys back the price that they have there.
Well, you said this is good for 60 days.
Uh-huh.
So
This price is good for 60 days, right? Any special deal we come up with today will be walking out of the door with me. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is what that would be for you guys in order to make it happen.
Okay.
Like what?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't like those kind of stipulations.
Okay.
And so I would just rather say have a good day. And
Okay.
Walk away from it.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I'm really not trying to provide unnecessary pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, if you guys could write your own check, and you guys could make the program exactly how you wanted, I might be willing to. I might be willing to meet you.
You to me, and then we're gonna meet somewhere.
No,
Close to that number, and it's not going to be what we really wanted in the first place.
Yeah, that what you're kind of describing is like a used car salesman tactic. That's not at all what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give you guys an opportunity to maybe have a cheaper price, right? If that's something that you would be willing to look at, I might be willing to look at that too, right? If not, again, like I said, I'm not here to pressure you guys. I hope you don't feel pressured in your own home.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I do, because
Okay.
it was good when you were giving me the information.
Sure.
And
Well,
then
that's-
it kind of took like a left turn.
Okay. Yeah. Well, again, then I'll walk out. I'm super sorry that you guys had that experience. I'm my goal is to, like I said, is to make a deal for you guys today.
Yeah.
If that can't happen, that's okay. I was just hoping to see if you guys could get a cheaper price on it. So
It was.
yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. And like I said, I'll put you, back to your day. Let you guys have a good look, and then if you guys are still interested in looking at titanium or anything in August or September, then I guess you guys can reach back out.
All right.
Super sorry, guys. I didn't mean for that to feel like it felt for you guys. So
They were told cash is king,
Mm-hmm.
so probably some fucking idiot
tried
told them.
to pivot on those things a couple times. The last guy clearly, showed them a much higher finance cost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, there wasn't a lot of.
Yeah, I would have left way earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not even fucking worth it.
There wasn't a lot of
Yeah, it's like, so, a couple things, if you're open to some.
Yeah, I would love some feedback.
She was talking about waiting to the end of summer and then building the paint on. Look, dude, you're gonna actually, so your system's actually gonna be about $25,000, because over the summer you're gonna be paying roughly over the next 7 months you're gonna be paying probably $3,000 to $4,000 just in the next couple of months, and then secondarily just asking them more questions, and then really build the pain. Look, if you're eventually going to be doing this, what's the difference between doing it now and then? It's okay, you want to do your vacation. Well, could I incentivize you to help you out with some of your vacation? If we were able to give maybe $1,000 or something like that. So
Yeah,
Other than that, you didn't. I think you did pretty good.
Yeah, I was looking for some incentives. You know, I went in a little bit on the kind of the Michael O'Donnell piece. You know what I mean? At the end, trying to do a little bit more of like the, you know, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I saw you put that. I was like, oh shit.
I was like, you know,
and I know that's what you were doing too.
You know,
I low key grinned. I was like pretending like I wasn't even fucking paying attention.
Yeah.
But I was watching pretty close.
Yeah, and those are like, you know, like you said, they had a very specific time frame. And again, like we all know that people come when we come into the homes, they already have talked about like what we're gonna do. And, you know, and so what I was really trying to open them up was like cool, like let's wave your magic wand. Like I'm willing to look at, and the thing is I already moved on my price, you know what I mean, to show them a price that was lower. And you know, he just thought that was going to end up being a tactic to get them closer to where I was, as opposed to for me to try and get closer to where they were. And that was I think the disconnect there. But it wouldn't have happened regardless of where they came to. But I thought I had a little hook when I mentioned it. I was like, if this was $1,000, you do it. And he's like, oh no. But that's actually ended up bringing it to where it turned. So other
than that, dude, I don't know if anyone could have, like, those guys were bent set on doing that, and so doing it there, and then like the fact that they only want to spend $20,000.
And they only want cash.
I would have done the $20,000 after the tax credit, and so built it about $26,000. I mean, it is going to be after the tax credit once you get all that back. But the thing is, I think they didn't have enough money because they were going to go on a vacation.
They really didn't. They had money to either do this or that, and this is already paid for. So there isn't money to do this now. And so getting them to agree to the financing, I don't know I don't know if you can get away from the dealer fees if you pay it off early. And so then the other thing is just like, man, you're eventually going to do this. You just want to cut it. Like, there's Taylor right now. Hey, Taylor, I'm working with Bryce right now. I got a question. You free for some coaching? So the lady was like, yo, bro, we just got out of the house. So she was like, yeah, we want to spend only $20,000. That's all we want to spend. And then we want to do it after summer. And so she was more bent set on only spending $20,000 and waiting until after summer than any other tactic we could have done to do it. I think that Bryce did a lot of talking, but there wasn't as much questions involved that really could have opened the clients up and built more pain in the setup. It's kind of not really knowing what the hell just happened. I don't know if you would have any feedback and, you know, questions that you typically ask on why deals got away.
Well, if she was firm on only wanting to spend $20K, I would have said that's perfect. We can get a system for you under $20,000, because I would just size the system down if that's what she was, you know, focused on. If she said she was getting it, you know, set it up after summer, you know, I would explain to her the idea is that, you know, we would be putting her in line and getting all, you know, the steps checked off. And if she wasn't even ready to submit her application to get approved from the utility company, and, you know, she's just not ready, that's what I would have told her. I said, you're probably just not ready. And I don't know if it's just bad timing right now, but, like, you know, typically the way that it goes is I go through this presentation and, you know, you end up really saying yes to something. It's either you end up recommitting to the utility company, or you end up, you know, redirecting everything into a piggy bank and we can get you approved. But what happens is if you don't do anything today, you end up doing nothing, and then you end up spending all the money to the utility company. So, I mean, every situation is different. Like, I mean, one thing I talked about at the conference is control is the most important part of the presentation and the most important technique that the professional door-to-door salesmen understand. And when you learn the technique of control, you can control the objection, you can control the pace, you can control, you know, everything that happens in the sale. So, you know, maybe something wasn't set up because, you know, if I don't have the intent statement where they understand that something's going to happen there today, like, I just shut my binder and I say, like, do you have any other questions for me? Because, like, the idea is, like, I'm not just here sitting in your kitchen, you know, just to sit in your kitchen. Like, we're here to make a decision. You're there to create the decision or close. And, you know, creating the decision, you have to be able to create an emotional climate, you know, where they understand that, you know, there's no reason that it wouldn't make sense. I mean, you have to have a really good flow to your presentation. You know, like for me, I have specific steps that I follow. And once I hit the first step, I kind of have a little checkpoint, and then I hit the next checkpoint, and I get through that, and I get a checkpoint, and as long as I get the checkpoints along the way, that when I get to the close, there is no close because I already set it up, and there's no objections. And we go for the 3 approvals. We go for the approval from the utility company, we go for the town permitting approval, and we go from the engineering approval. Once those 3 check boxes are checked off, the idea is we'd set up a date to have everything installed. We'd install it. After it's installed, it's inspected. After it's inspected, it's PTO'd. So, this is a 2, 3, 4 month process sometimes. But the idea is we would put you in line and get the process going. What is the best email address that you guys use the most? Because that's where you're going to find out if you get approved or denied from the utility company. Do you guys use Gmail?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, there's different ways to sell, bro. It's different. It's probably the best advice I could give you is you should did you record the presentation?
Yeah, we had Serge here with us, so.
Okay, you need to go back and watch the footage.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. You need to go back and watch the footage.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think the objection I had a hard time overcoming was the fact that they had a very specific cost in mind, which we got them to. Like, I got them a system under that cost, but they have a family vacation that's paid for, and they don't actually have the money, but they're unwilling to look at anything besides cash. So they basically had discussed that they're going to do solar. They're gonna pay 20 grand.
That's fine. You just collect the money. Do you have to collect a certain amount before they submit for permits?
I don't know if with titanium for sure, but if it's $1,000 deposit, that's what we've always done at point of signing. Which again isn't a lot, but like they probably could have done. I see what you're saying. It's just that
I would have got them in line, bro. Like, even when people are like, I want to get more proposals, I'm like, dude, you should get at least like 12. Most people that I go to get at least like 12 to 15, but like you can get as many as you want. But the idea is that we're gonna put you in line so you can work your way to the front, and then any time before we actually show up on the day of the install to actually put panels on the roof, if you decided to step out of line, that's on you. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we want to know that you want to get the panels installed on the roof, that if we're going to utilize our company resources, like to pay for the permitting, the installation, the engineering, blah, 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 that you genuinely want to have the panels installed. But typically at this point, most people are pretty excited. So I know if you have a lot going on, like with the summer vacation, that's fine. But what we're going to do is start getting all the approvals right now. And, we'll set up a date and put it on the schedule, because we've got so many inquiries before the deadline that our technicians might be 2 or 3 months out. I don't know what this zip code looks like, but I'm going to have to look at that. And so let's just get all the approvals, and then once they're ready to get up an install date, I'll give you guys a call. And once you're back from the vacation, we'll get it scheduled on that date. That's it. You're not there to come back to go there. You're never going to probably go back, or she's going to end up doing nothing. And the number one rule of ethics in selling is if she qualifies by wants, needs, and financial capabilities, it's your job to get her to the yes.
Mm-hmm.
Money.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I hope that helped, man. It's a little bit more technical, but probably the best advice I could give you is just go watch the footage, bro, with a pen and a piece of paper, and you're gonna watch a lot of things that you're like, dude, that everything helps or hurts the sale. There's no neutral, so all the stuff that didn't help hurt, and then you gotta eliminate all the stuff that hurts and start duplicating on all the stuff that helped the sale.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, Taylor.
All right, McCarthy, I'll hit you back.
All right, boys.
All right, man. Later. Yeah, so
yeah, I think there's a couple things, I definitely look at like the presentation and realize that I don't think I did the best that I could have done. I think that one thing that Taylor did mention that's like, people do have to qualify by wants, needs, and financial capabilities, and I feel like the financial capabilities wasn't there.
It wasn't there for that plan. We had to talk her into fucking pink.
Right.
And so I'm asking actually one of the guys from Goodleap right now, Dustin Menzel, to see if you could do with no prepayment penalties for dealer fees.
Yeah, they have so their Goodleap has a 7-year 799, but I'm not looping back on that home at this point. So
that's done.
Yeah. So
Well, they're gonna have to buy 2 or 3 systems. The tax credit's gonna be gone. The buyback's gonna be doing. They're gonna get fucking. When they get the secondary system, it's gonna be NEM 3.0, and then it's like really fun. So.
yeah, you know, that's why that's why I really do believe that like Taylor was saying, like the ethics of the sales are to just leave everything out there. Like I mean, you have to. Like I'm not coming back in August, September. Like they're not going solar with me in August or September. Yeah. They might go solar with somebody, and I guarantee that person won't be as knowledgeable as me, and they won't be able to get the same service. So they can, I hope that they find somebody good and that they go with them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I know what my time and value is worth. You know what I mean? So, but cash ones are, a little more tough when someone wants to do cash, but they aren't ready to do cash.
And then you're competing. Like I like competing against a lower monthly bill.
Yeah.
Versus what they're currently doing.
And like when they had just gotten a quote, so like I can beat that quote all day, but you're still not ready to make a decision. Like they're not. They're just not in that place.
Actually, does have a product that has a 0 dealer fee if customer wants to pay it all sooner.
Right.
That would have been one we could.
That's like the 7-year, I think 799 though. So if you, depending on how long you delay, like I say, if they were paying it off in August, September, that would have been a good move.
Way to get it done.
Yeah. I was trying to get creative and thinking about that, but that makes a lot of sense. That would have been a good pivot. Yeah. So I got to buzz over to.
I'm gonna go fucking sock one right now too. I got an appointment.
Okay. All right.